Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to show you how I made this really unique combination of textures on this wedding cake. We did some swag piping, we did some sugar flowers, gold-tipped burgundy sugar flowers, and also some buttercream rosettes. These buttercream rosettes have been around for a while, and I really like how the combination of these three elements go together. So let's get right to it. First, we need to make our rosettes, or our roses. The way I like to do these, if they're going to be on the edge of a cake that does not have a lot of surface area horizontally, I like to use the foam centers. Now, I know we all like to make things as much edible as possible, but let's be honest, nobody's eating these flowers. These are decorations, so I'm fine with using the foam centers. And I attach toothpicks with some hot glue. And these are all my tools. I have some cornstarch in that bag that keeps my gum paste from sticking to my surface. And this is straight gum paste colored with burgundy gel food coloring. I added a few touches of like a little bit of black and then some more brown to get the depth that I want. And I'm just using the 3 sizes of circle cutters. I have 3. They're just like in a row from smallest to largest in one of those tins that you get with all your circle cutters, because our outside petals need to be a little bit bigger than our center. And I just rolled them out. Cut them out, and then I use my ball tool to just soften those edges around the outside edges to help get our edges of our petals to be a little bit more frilly, a little bit more delicate. And then I like to attach these in 3 rows. That's why we have the 3 different colors or 3 different sizes of cutters. And I also did a combination of sizes. I wanted some that were more buds, and then some medium size, and then some fuller ones. I don't like to do all the same size because I feel like it looks a little too artificial. I like to make them varied in size. So our first center is going to be 2 to 3 petals of our smallest cutter. Our next layer is going to be 3 to 5 petals of our middle cutter, and then our outside, if we're doing all 3 rows of petals, is going to be 5 to 7 of the largest. Now, you can go back and add more if you want to, but the wider they get, the harder, for me, the harder they are to apply onto the cake because they dry firm. Sometimes I do go back and I make some just individual petals that I don't attach to the actual rose. I use them to kind of fill in a cluster of flowers because, like I said, gum paste is rigid. It's firm when it dries. Now, this wedding cake I did do all in one day, so there was a little bit of flexibility in them still. This is what one of my bigger ones ended up looking like. So to get them to dry, I wanted them to dry as much as possible since I was doing this all in one day. I'm just going ahead and wrapping a little saran wrap around the outside edge of my larger ones. Because my flower forming cups, they don't actually quite fit the size of my flowers. So we're just using that saran wrap to help them hold their shape so they don't open up too much. Now I did those very first thing in the day so that they go on last, so they have the longest drying time. Preferably, I'd like to do them overnight, let them dry overnight, but with my situation, working 1 day a week at this point, I have to get it all in one day. And here I'm showing you how I frosted my already filled and crumb-coated tiers of cake. We did a 6-inch, 8-inch, and 10-inch on this 3-tiered cake. And all of my tiers were frosted the same way. Even the bottom tier, I did frost the same way. Even though we're going to have the rosettes that add some thickness onto them, I like to have a good, fresh, not see-through base coat of buttercream so that if you happen to see between the rosettes, you're not going to see into the cake. It's just the way I like to do it. And all of the tiers are supported with the bottom one. I use some of the big plastic dowels on the outside edge and then some boba tea straws in the middle. And I do at least 5 on each tier. The bottom one I do 10, middle one I do 5. And then I'm just filling in the gaps there. And I'm so sorry. You know what I need to do? I need to actually take time to actually make myself look presentable. I wish I could edit this and take me completely out, but you can't. I'm not here to like impress anybody with how I look. So I end up looking horrible. Sorry, just look at the cake, not me. And I am using one of these old school marking tools. This from when the piping was really popular back in the 80s. We use these tools. And you know what? It turns out they're the best. And you get them on Amazon, and they really help you mark where your swags need to go. And I did mark the bottom tier for the roses, the rows of the rosettes. I kind of like to do that to kind of get a base idea of where they need to be placed. But you'll see when I start doing the rosettes that I didn't really follow that. I did the first 2 layers, and then the last row I just made bigger. Here I'm showing you how I make it easier to do the piping of the rosettes. I fill the bag almost all the way, put a rubber band on the end so that I am not worried about it coming out the back end of it. And then putting my hand halfway down the bag, you can see there's buttercream on the back side. That way I can keep control more. These rosettes take a lot of buttercream, and I don't want to have to keep filling the bag. So that's how I do that. And then the rosettes, you just start in the middle, and you just go around. I like to go clockwise. I started counterclockwise. I haven't done rosettes in like a year. So I started going the wrong way, and then I turned it around. And that way, and it's easy to overlap them. If you go all the way around twice, I think, and you end halfway down the outside edge of the rosette, your next rosette's going to kind of cover up where you pulled your piping bag away. And then I'm just using, there's a leaf tip. Oh, on the rosettes, I use a 1M, a Wilton 1M. And then on the swags, I use just a regular rose tip, 2 layers of that, and then a smaller star tip. I can't remember what number it is, but it's the medium size, second from the smallest. For a scroll border, it's the same I did in between the tiers, and I just did that on the top, did little rosettes to match on the top to match the bottom in between the swags, so that it kind of ties it together. And then we're just putting our sugar flowers on. Like I said, it is kind of hard. You see me kind of going, taking things off, putting things on, checking the camera, taking things back off, because arranging them when they're rigid, like I said before, is just kind of hard. And I did not make extra petals. See there, I'm taking them off. No shame in going back and redoing what you already did if you see that it's just not working. Because I like to start with my largest ones and then build up around that. But with this particular cake, with the number of roses that I had and the placement of them, that didn't really work as well as I would like it to. So I just kind of had to refinagle. See, that one is my large one. I'm putting that one in the front instead of on the top because you see it more. It's just, and then I changed my mind. Can you tell I just kind of add my voiceover as I'm watching what I already edited? Yeah, that's what I'm doing here. Okay, now we're putting it in the back. And at this point we are putting on I am taking some of the cornstarch because I use that cornstarch to keep it from sticking to my surface when I'm making the flowers, but it's still kind of on there. So you could go in and use a steamer to get that cornstarch off, but since these have not even fully set up yet, I didn't want to do that. So I just used some shortening and brushed it on there to get that cornstarch off of there. Then I'm just using luster dust mixed with Everclear to touch the tips of these roses with some gold. They wanted some gold incorporated into the cake, but they didn't want like gold leaf. They didn't want an entire tier with gold. So we're just tipping the edges of these roses with a fan brush. It's like the high points. Don't try to be too neat and careful with this. Just get it on there. It'll be just fine. And here's our end product. I think it turned out great. And I love the combination of these textures, like I said earlier. And I hope you got something from it. I hope you learned something. And we'll catch you on the next one.